What is going on, everybody? Welcome back. MTG here with another episode. If you're new to the channel, hi there. So today I want to talk about 3 reasons why you should pick up the iPhone 14 Pro Max. So without further delay, let's dive right in. So number 1 is going to be the display on the iPhone 14 Pro Max. So we're getting the same 6.7 inch 120 hertz display from the 13 Pro Max, but with this one now, the 120 hertz can drop down to 1 hertz, whereas the 13 Pro Max was able to drop from 120 hertz to 10 hertz. And the reason why is because now we have always on display. So that 1 hertz really does, come to use when we're using the always on display on the iPhone 14 Pro Max. Another thing is when we dim the display and take a look at this pill-shaped camera cutout with the Face ID included, if we dim it, you see the always on display, and if you look at an angle, here's a Face ID module, there's a gap in between, and then the camera right here. But when we do turn on the display, Apple has implemented software to kind of fill in that gap. And that's what I like about this new feature. Apple has done a really good job. They call it Dynamic Island. And if you take a look right there, when I was able to Face ID and unlock my phone, it used that software to show the notification of me unlocking my iPhone through Dynamic Island. And iOS is designed to animates notifications and whatnot, like status indicators and other things. So let's say if you're going into Spotify or whatnot, it is going to show up right here. If you airdrop, it's going to show up right here on the Dynamic Island. When you're watching videos, it doesn't get in the way, so you don't need to worry about that. But that's really what I like about the new Dynamic Island. Some people don't like it, some people do. I'm personally a fan, and I think Apple is going to embrace this because up until now, Apple has kind of hidden the fact that they had the notch, but with this one, they're using software to implement it, and I believe a lot of other companies are going to follow and kind of copy this Dynamic Island. But nonetheless, display is really good. Another great thing about it is its brightness. So get this, the max brightness on the S22 Ultra, which was the highest up until now, was 1750 nits max brightness. This goes up to 2000 nits, especially when you're outdoors. 2000 nits, like that right there, is super bright. I mean, maybe it doesn't look like really bright on camera, but in person and you use this outdoors especially, it gets super bright. So you're not gonna have any issue whether you're watching lots of YouTube videos like myself, or you're playing lots of games like Pokemon Go or Call of Duty. This display is on point. Now, number 2 is going to be the cameras. So with the 14 Pro and 14 Pro Max, they finally got a camera upgrade in the megapixel department. The last time we've seen an upgrade was with the iPhone 6s back in 2015. So a whole 7 years later, we went from 12 to 48 megapixels in the main camera lens on the 14 Pro and 14 Pro Max, and it's awesome. Now for you to, if you want to shoot 48 megapixel photos, you're going to have to shoot in RAW, and they do take up quite a bit of storage, 75, 80 megabits of storage. So if you're that person who's consistently going to take 48 megapixel photos and edit them, which I would, then suggest if you're going to edit these photos, then go ahead and shoot in RAW. But if you're not going to shoot them in RAW, then just continue taking photos like you normally do on your iPhone. There's also huge changes with the camera. So now, cinematic mode, if you remember with the 13 Pro Max, that came equipped with 1080p at 30 frames per second, but cinematic mode or cinema film is shot in 24 frames per second. So now with the 14 Pro Max, we are able to shoot cinematic mode, and watch, if we go down to camera, record cinematic 4K at 24 and 30 frames per second. So that is a huge plus. That makes sense. Cinematic mode at 24 frames per second, whereas normal like television shows are capped at 30 frames per second. But that's one of the main reasons why I switched to the 13 or to the 14 Pro Max from the 13 Pro Max, which is actually recording right up here, is because of the camera. All of my main videos are shot with an iPhone from all of my angles pretty much in the videos that you see. And now from this point on, after these iPhone 14 videos, this is going to be my main device. This just goes to show that you too can pick up the latest iPhone. I mean, if it's going to be your first iPhone, pick it up and start making content, whether it be on YouTube or on Instagram Reels, whatever it may be. This is the perfect device. I don't think you need to invest in a camera until later on when you continue to grow as a content producer, but for the time being, perfect device, more than capable. It's just proof on my channel that you can do it. So that was me. Camera was the main reason why I upgraded. Okay, and the third one is going to be the battery life. Now, this one's going to be a little bit of like a controversy. That's because we now have always on display, and we now have a much higher brightness. And if you're using your phone at max brightness, obviously that's going to sip through battery life. But with this always on display, you notice I feel like it just dims the display. You can still see the background. You can still see the clock and everything. And drops the refresh rate down to 1 hertz, so it's not going to use as much power, but still, nonetheless, it's still an always on display. Now, if we take a look at my battery, I last charged this to 93% Monday at 11:53 p.m. and it's at 87% right now. Like, I went to sleep, woke up in the morning, and got ready and everything, and came to the office and just started recording this video, and it's at 87%. That's actually quite a lot. Like, I didn't actually use this to watch YouTube videos or to email or anything. So that's quite a bit, 6%. If it was my 13 Pro Max, none of that would have happened. So that's kind of a bummer. But if you want to improve on your battery life, which it still performs like a beast. I've had this since its launch. I've been using it extensively since its launch, except last night because I really didn't need to. It's been performing great. It's been performing almost the same as my 13 Pro Max. If I want to have it perform exactly the same, then I am going to turn off always on display, and I'm not going to be using it outdoors I don't use it outdoors like I would usually anyway. So I don't need to worry about the brightness, but with the always on display, I can just turn that off. And A16 Bionic chipset that comes equipped with the iPhone 14 Pro Max is definitely going to be a little bit more efficient than the A15, which was already efficient, which is more efficient than the A14. You get the point. iPhone, A14, A15, A16, their chipsets are very efficient, and they all help with battery life. We've seen it with the 13 Pro Max, so 14 Pro Max, so far battery has been great, and I think it's a reason to pick this up. Anyway, that about wraps up this video. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, be sure to superman a like button, comment down below, and best of all, share this video because it really does help out the channel a lot and will help push my content out to more people. That's been it for me, and I'll catch you guys in the next episode.